So if you ever watch a YouTube video or you're in social media scrolling Facebook, Instagram, and someone's got this heartfelt, just emotionally engaging, wonderful thing to say or a picture to see, and they got 7 likes. And then someone comes along and be like, this is what I eat to stay fit, and it's got 10,000 likes. People love to talk about food. There's something in the brain that people engage with food. We socialize over it. We obsess over it. We get addicted to it, and it's so easy to go the wrong direction. Me and Sean, we not pros from the past of how to not eat? Like we've done it all. Like this terrible
Well,
food choices. We've both ballooned up in weight, and we've both shredded down in weight, and we've somehow managed to now just eat extremely clean. Like it's just something that I don't know if it was by accident, but if we were just to say right now and look at what we're doing compared to what we've done in the past, we're like, dang, we've come a long ways. And how did
yes.
that happen? How are we staying so consistent? Because I asked myself that. I'm like, how am I so consistent on this now? Like,
Yep.
because I've I know what it is to be addicted to food. Like I know what it is to eat the burgers and the fries. And so today's episode, we're going to go over some of our, if I was to break it down, there were some of these moves, some of these food decisions that I've made have helped me not get ripped, but they've helped me not get fat. They've helped me not get unhealthy because I ate this and not those things, and they were able to help me get on the right path, the right direction. And I'm sure it's going to be a little bit different for you, Sean, because
Yeah.
like we just talked about, we're two very different people. We eat a lot of the same things, but the
Yep.
reasons behind it, taste palettes, but the principles of replacing something bad with something good, I just think is a brilliant way to get yourself on track well. Because if you just stop a bad habit, you will replace it with another habit of some sort. And so if
Mm.
you can be in control of that and be cognizant, make a deliberate decision of, I don't want to do that anymore. What's the best minimal way I can get away from that? Well, I could do this. So for me, that's a lot of where my list comes from today. So did you want to throw something in before we get into our top fives?
Yeah. I'm not sharing my number one hack until the end.
Mm.
So I'm not going to give away my first hack.
Yeah, we're
So
going to
you got
start
to
at
make sure.
five and work up to our best ones, our go-tos.
Exactly. I'm going to start with the bottom five on the
Nice.
hacks. But yeah, dovetailing off of what you're saying is, for me, one of the biggest transitions, and I'll share my first one, is that for me is finding the foods that I enjoy eating. Why do we eat the cheeseburgers, the pizzas? And I did that all the time, and I worked out all the time, and I was on a hamster wheel. And so once I learned about finding foods that I actually enjoyed eating, then it really changed the game for me. And how I did this was experimenting with what my body liked and what it didn't like. Why do I like the taste of a cheeseburger? And so I started experiencing like, okay, maybe I don't do the cheeseburger, but maybe I do just the beef, just the beef patty and not the bread and not, with the ingredients that I put in it. So I started reframing my mindset, and this leads into my first hack, which is I started prioritizing protein. I started there, right? There's so many different macros. There's the carbs, there's fats, and it gets super overwhelming. So my first food hack was I'm gonna prioritize protein, and I'm gonna find out what proteins that I like, that I love, and then I'm gonna get really good on those proteins. And so by me prioritizing every meal, this helps me keep me full longer, but also repairs my muscle, and then also allows me to maintain steady energy levels. When I've experimented with carbs and fats and other different macros and other different types of foods, and I didn't prioritize protein, and I ate the bagel, I ate the croissant, I ate the cereal, and my carbs was over my protein, and I wasn't prioritizing that, I started noticing my energy levels dip, and I wasn't as full as longer. I was hungry 30 minutes later, and I just ate 2 bagels.
Yes.
And I also noticed that I wasn't recovering as fast. So my first food hack is prioritize protein. And for me, just some action steps for you listening to this. You're like, yes, I want to prioritize my protein, Sean. Is every meal, I eat 4 meals a day. I have 40 to 50 grams of protein. Maybe for you, it's 20 to 30, but start prioritizing at least 20 to 30 protein in every meal. This could be chicken breast, ground beef, salmon. For me, it's eggs in the morning, chicken for lunch. And then I do a scoop of protein for the afternoon. Now, for these proteins and prioritizing them, I pre-cook them. So like grilled chicken this morning, I was able to make my wife yesterday lunch for today. So just by pre-cooking these proteins, it allows me to prioritize because I'm being intentional about the breakfast, lunch, and even dinner. So they're ready to go when fatigue sets in. I also use air fryer. This is kind of a dovetail off the first hack. I'm prioritizing. Dude, if you don't have an air fryer, for us, it's a Ninja. I tell you what, you set it and forget it, right? You put pork chops in there, you put chicken in there, you put chicken thighs in there, you put beef patties in there, and it is so juicy. We had chicken thighs last night, and it was delicious. Me and my wife were looking at each other like, "This is so good. We're never gonna get it. We're never not gonna get used to this, or we're gonna, this is something that is not gonna be
never gonna get old."
Yeah, exactly. And then last but not least is snack on high protein foods. So if you're like, Sean, okay, I get it, 4 times a day. I'm eating 3 times a day and I'm snacking a lot on crap that I shouldn't be snacking. Well, by prioritizing protein, do things like Greek yogurt. So I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but it's spelled Oikos, Oikos.
I don't know how to say it, dude. I get the same Greek yogurt. Yeah, I don't know how to say it.
So it's 0 sugar and it's high in protein. But prioritizing protein is my first hack. What about you, Ewan?
For me, I'm going to start off with kind of a breakfasty kind of go to, and then what I do for lunch, and then what I do. My number one will be an evening thing because I know for me, anyways, and I think it's true for a lot of people. That's when we get really weak at the end of the day. We're tired, emotional drain, right? And so to me, it's like, okay, that's where I fall apart. So what's my what my number one is an evening thing, but to go for in the mornings is my number 5, because that's to start the day off. If you eat well, like you said, if you have a lot of protein in the morning, you've set yourself up well to not be really, really hungry mid-morning and or for lunch, so you can make a better lunch decision. And so for me, in the mornings, and I'm going to cheat here a little bit, but I do eggs and oats, which I think you had told me your recipe, and I think we had seen, was it Nick Bear who did it, or he had seen someone do it. And so that sounds weird, but you put oats in with your eggs, and the recipe I got from Sean, he does 1 whole egg and then 3 egg whites. So you got 4 eggs, but only 1 egg yolk in there because the fat is actually high, which is great fat in an egg, in the yolk, which is fine to have the egg yolks, but you don't want too much fat with the way we're training. But if you're not training, maybe you do 2 or 3 eggs, depending on your size and weight and macros. So yeah, eggs and oats is my number 5. I have that. I'll go for my morning run. I get home and I start getting the frying pan ready to go. And if I was to cheat on that to get some extra carbs, not cheat bad food wise, but to cheat to have 2 things in my number 5, I have sourdough toast with that. So that sets me up well. I've replenished on the protein. Sourdough bread, it hits me different than regular bread. There's no gluten in sourdough, especially if you get some good one. My favorite sourdough bread is from Aldi. The sourdough there is so good. It's super strange. If you toast Aldi sourdough bread on the hottest setting in our toaster, it doesn't burn. If you put a regular piece of bread or even sourdough from like HEB, it will burn real fast, totally black. And so there's something I need to look into this. I don't know why, but there's less ingredients. The less ingredients, the better when it comes to that sourdough. And so you have those 2 things. I got my carbs, got my protein, got my healthy fats, and I'm set up well for lunch. So yeah, eggs and oats is a weird one. P.S. Make sure you're getting plain steel cut oats, because when I first tried it, I just grabbed oats and it was like some maple sugary thing. I didn't even look at it. I just poured it in and I started eating it. I'm like, what is this thing? It's eggs and it doesn't jam well. And then my second time, I grabbed a different set of oats, and it was the kind you have to like boil. And so it was like these hard, crunchy things in my teeth. I'm like, am I ever going to get this recipe right? And so by the time I got the regular oats, steel cut oats, it was delicious. I was like, now this is where it's at. A little bit of hot sauce on there, fantastic. So,
Mm,
anyways, thanks for the recipe on that one. So that was my five.
no doubt. So my second one would be hydration. Hydration is so vital, right? You can get all this food down, you can get sleep down, you can get exercise, but man, that's my number two is hydration. And so if you are dehydrated, which I've been dehydrated before, and you may not know it if you're not aware or self-aware, it leads to fatigue, poor focus, sluggish performance, both physically and mentally. So once I figured out, oh, staying hydrated, having the right electrolytes, it's one of the easiest ways to boost energy. People are like, dude, this guy always has so much energy. Well, that's just one of my hacks is I freaking stay hydrated.
Yes.
Now, the recommended an action step moving forward, how much water should I drink? It's a great question. I typically drink around 8 to 12 ounces of water first thing in the morning. Every single morning, I have my 40-ounce Stanley cup here by my toothbrush. So I'm intentional about drinking 8 to 12 ounces. I don't slurp down the 40 ounces, but I do 8 to 12 ounces. And I immediately feel a boost right after I drink that 8 ounces.
Man, once you
Now,
experience full hydration, there's no going back. Like
right.
once you're really familiar with what it feels like to be fully hydrated, and most people are dehydrated. P.S. Like if it's just the way it is. I remember I used to barely drink water at all. Like I just didn't really think about it. It's not a habit been built, but you can tell like when you're not hydrated, you're like something's way off.
Yes.
Do you still get that? Like, and I'm real sensitive with it now too. I'm like, oh, I need to get water like right now. I don't let it get that far, but I can sense I need water right now. It's super
Yeah.
strange.
One of the things that I've learned, and I think I heard this from Dr. Huberman, and I've been just kind of testing out myself, is if you're like, well, how do I know if I'm dehydrated, right? Yes, I'm fatigued. Yes, I'm poor focus, but there's a lot of other variations that can lead to that. But if you're dehydrated and you go to the bathroom, pee, then look in the toilet, look back in your toilet. And if it's like super, like dark yellow, dark orange, typically that leads to you're dehydrated.
Yeah.
And so if I look in the water, I'm like, oh man, that's super clear, or it's a little bit of yellow, then I know that I'm well hydrated and I can feel it, and the fatigue is, or the whatever else is going on in my life at that time, then it's probably another variation. But for hydration, I keep it stupid simple. I make sure
You
that
don't want
I
to get
drink.
too clear as well. And you detest that too. Like if when it's just straight clear, uh, it's actually the opposite direction. It's almost like you'll feel it. You kind of want that just light. Well, that's a weird thing to talk about, but just light yellow pee. It's the human body, right? Like
Not
you
with it
just want it in
all.
that sweet spot.
Level up and live, baby.
Yeah, man, bring it on. This is about feeling good, man. It's
Yep.
I didn't even really think about that. The reason I'm so hot on eating well at this point and just staying is I want to feel good. I'm tired of feeling like junk.
Yeah.
Right? It's that feeling of afterwards, that feeling of not having fully hydrated. Why would I not stay hydrated if I feel
Mm.
excellent hydrated? It's worth very small commitment level, massive return.
Yeah.
And add some electrolytes in there too, PS.
Yeah. Or sea salt, right? So if
Yeah,
you're
or
like
sea salt.
electrolytes, where do I get those? There's a bunch of different electrolytes out there. I started with sea salt, Himalayan sea salt, just a pinch of that. You just feel better after hydration. A
Yeah.
third one that I roll into is embracing whole unprocessed foods. So for me, it's learning, okay, what's unprocessed and what's whole. And that's probably for a whole nother episode in itself, but just keeping it stupid simple, whole foods provide more nutrients, fiber, and longer lasting energy than processed foods. The Sean, the version of me that ate the unprocessed foods versus the version of me that ate the whole foods, I just feel completely different. And the unprocessed foods has loaded with sugars and unhealthy fats that led to me to energy crashes. I wondered why I didn't have any energy after 10 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock in the morning. And so an action step, if you're eating processed snacks like chips and candy, then an alternative option would be like fruit, nuts, some kind of veggie stick. And for me, we're big on fruit like strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, any kind of berries, organic, and then nuts. Like we do almonds, walnuts, And those things, I don't have that energy crash. So knowing the difference between whole foods and unprocessed foods makes all the difference in the world. And then a little final tip, little pro tip is once I started checking the labels in the back of the for the ingredients, if anything, if there's more than 5 ingredients on the back of that package, then typically it will be, there's going to be some kind of unprocessed type of food, ingredient
There's going to be
that,
a price to pay. Yeah, I
yeah,
associate with lots of, if there's a lot of words in the ingredients, I automatically think I'm going to suffer somewhere. I'm going to feel
yeah,
pain in my joints. I'm going to feel jumpy. I'm going to feel anxious. I'm going to feel something. Like I really connected with that. Like, yeah, if there's more than 5 ingredients, or if the ingredients are not all natural, organic, I'm not going to do it. It doesn't have to be organic for me because it's really hard to have everything organic, BS. But it's better. It's better than not. But just as long as you're focused on it just being whole ingredients, at least. But
did you already
yeah,
share your hacks?
on my third one, actually, I skipped my fourth. I was going to say I it's in between. It's kind of just after my breakfast, like the eggs and oats
Yeah.
and sourdough toast. I'll do a protein shake, which the I said his name already, but Nick Bear's protein is. I've done all the protein drinks, man. I've done them all. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that would be one of my fourth like go to kind of build up my day. I'll have a protein shake with bananas and frozen bananas and frozen berries. You can buy those in the bags and add those in there. This would be a whole other episode, but I add in 5 grams of creatine, 5 grams of glutamine, 5 grams of citrulline, and these all support my energy, my mind, my health. And so I put that in that would be my fourth hack. So for my third, my lunches stay the same. Like I don't. This might be hard for some people. They might like variety. I will eat the same thing over and over and over again
Yeah.
because it means I don't have to make a decision on what I'm going to eat that day. So if I found something that works for me, I'm just going to keep doing it. So my go-to for the last like 3 years has been Chipotle, and it's the same. All I do is rice for the carbs. I do half steak, half chicken, guacamole, and I do really light black beans and just a light bit of cheese, and that's it. I've done that for years and years. I do it over and over. Recently, to throw in a mix, and because we'd kind of gotten on a kick, a poke bowl. We've been
Mm.
doing those poke bowls. Like we had some in France. I found one at HEB, and it's this tuna poke bowl. So I have been breaking my own rule and mixing it up. If I'm feeling like something different, I'll go get a tuna poke bowl at HEB. High protein. I don't do the sauce on there because it's loaded with sugar
Yeah.
and just like crazy chemicals in there. So I toss that out. But that's my go-to third one. So I'm getting my fats, my protein, and my carbs, and I've set myself up well as well from the morning from the eggs and the oats, having that protein shake, so that I'm using the food as fuel to get to lunch, and I'm
Yep.
enjoying all this too. It tastes good, right? So I'm in my technically third thing to eat for the day, and it sets me up really well for the afternoon and for dinner. So
Mm. So for my fourth hack, I time my carbs. So that would be my fourth hack is I time my carbs. So if you're somebody that works out in the morning, I like working out fasted. So I'll do a 60, 90-minute workout in the morning in my training program, and I'll typically do it fasted. And I don't obviously recommend this. We're not doctors or scientists, or we're just going over the food hacks on what works best for us. So if you're listening to this and you go out and you start applying some of these things, be cautious, and just make sure you're self-aware with your own body, because if it works for us, it may not. It may, you have to filter it for your own life. So take it with a grain of salt. But for me, I time my carbs. So I work out, and then right after that, I know that having like something like an English muffin or oats. I do the oats, like Ewan said, in the eggs, which is just a beautiful recipe. It's so delicious, and I really enjoy that. Now, also too, like fruits like raspberries, bananas, these are these are healthy. These are good carbs that I like to enjoy, and I really try to minimize and eliminate, anything like white bread, pastries, t- different types of bagels, and I keep that like to a super minimum because I just feel like crap once I start eating those.
Yes.
So just by timing your carbs and where you're most, for me, most active, because I want to replenish that fuel, and that's where I get my fuel source from, is from carbs after my workout, because I'll be doing another intense workout in the afternoon time. I need to replenish that fuel source, and so I stick with those foods that I'd mentioned: bananas, oats, and raspberries, that allow me, that don't crash. They don't I don't crash right after the morning workout and after I eat them. So it allows me to have that sustainable energy. Versus if I ate a croissant or a pastry, which they're so delicious, or a donut, something like that. My wife jokes about it all the time, like, "Oh, this is a carb. We need it for fuel, right?" And so we'll start laughing about it. And then, we wonder why we feel like crap, 2 hours later, and we wonder why we're not recovering, because they're refined carbs. So just
Yeah.
timing your carbs has been a big game changer for me. I also tend to uh, be very moderate in my carbs during the afternoon time, during lunch, right before, anywhere from like 30 to 50 grams of carbs. And I try to keep that equivalent to my protein, which is 40 to 50 grams. And the afternoon time, I'll typically go a little crazy, because that's where my body's going to recover during sleep for the next training day. And typically I'll have anywhere from 75, I'll bump that up. So my dinner time, I'll have anywhere from 75 to 100 grams of carbs. And I just have found that it just refuels my muscles, and then allows me to improve and sleep better. And I'm talking sweet potatoes, quinoa, rice, brown rice, and I'm like you, and I put those on repeat, and my body just absolutely love it. If I could show my data right now, the nutrition is so dialed in with the timing of the carbs, it just makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And how how soon do you eat them, I'm saying how soon? What's your time frame for eating those before your workout, your
30
second
minutes.
workout?
Yeah, I give my body 30 minutes. So if I
30 minutes.
do a lunch break workout, then I'll typically, if I go at 12 o'clock and I do a 60-minute workout, then I'll eat at 11, and uh, and then I'll let my body digest it. 30 to 45 minutes is typically what I do really well on.
Yeah.
And again, I'm probably having anywhere from 500 to 600 calories, and so that's broken up into protein, carbs, and a little bit of fat. And so by 30 minutes, I'm ready to hit the ground running. But in between meals, I try to always wait 3 hours, and
Mm.
I'll have typically 4 meals in a day.
Yeah. It's funny you said that, because my second top go to is, how do I stop myself from snacking on bad things? If I'm really
Yeah.
hungry, it's really hard to just, and you're twiddling your fingers type thing. Like, what do I do right now? I need to eat something, and I'm fully hydrated, and my body is telling me I'm hungry. If in the pantry there is something unhealthy in the past, I would just resist it, and then I'd end up breaking and eating it. And I
Yep.
realized that's my pattern. And I just
Yep.
ruined all the good stuff that I've done for the day. And
Yes.
once I started eating that poor thing, and it's typically in the afternoons, once the emotions, that you get weaker through the day type thing
Yep.
mentally. And this is if you're not, it's much easier if you're working out, like we're talking about, like when you have a set program and you're kind of fueling that program of exercise,
Right.
because you're kind of on a mission. But let's say if you're not, like, let's say I'm not training at the current moment for something big, and I'm just doing my daily deal, and it's the afternoon, and I'm just hungry. Instead of their chips being there, which I haven't eaten chips in a long time, but I might eat something that the kids have in there. I would
Mm.
replace that with, which what you said earlier, cashews,
Yep.
almonds, Brazil nuts, and dark chocolate.
Mm.
Because dark chocolate, and I'm doing 85% to 90% dark chocolate. A lot of people might be like, "Oh, it's so bitter." What's
Yeah.
wild is when you stop eating regular sugar, like added sugars. Uh, I don't advocate to stop eating sugar at all. Eat sugar. but just
Yeah.
eat natural, good stuff. It's glucose. It's fuel for your body. It's okay to eat
Right.
sugar. Added processed sugar is what I try and stay away from. So if I'm eating uh, a handful of nuts and or well, you mentioned it as well, like blueberries, blackberries, kind of adding nuts into the mix of this kind of go to deal in the afternoons. That dark chocolate is a good treat. It actually tastes super, like 85% tastes super sweet to me now because that's a treat. Like I don't eat other things, and it's
Yeah.
taken me. It took me time to get there. It was horrible when I first started. Now, if I eat something sweet, it's too sweet, and so I'm really protecting myself there. And that might be it. I'll have a little bit before dinner if I'm hungry.
Mm.
If I can go, if I after a workout, I'll have a protein shake anyway. It'd be my second protein shake, so that kind of keep me from doing that. But I already mentioned protein shakes, but so before dinner, I'll have that, and or I'll do that for dessert. A little bit of dark chocolate, some cashews, and I'll strongly recommend too on nuts. Make sure you're reading the back. If there's added oils,
Yeah.
vegetable oil, palm oil,
Yep.
man, if I had to pick between added sugar, processed sugar, or vegetable palm oils that things have been, I would have a really hard time deciding which is the worst of the two. Oils are that bad. Like they
Yeah.
will wreck your body. If you ever have like joint pains issues, you remove oils from like those vegetable oils from your diet, you'll notice a big difference show up. So
Mm.
again, so it's almost like a defense move. So I'll do the nuts or dark chocolate because it stops me doing something else that would be really bad for me. So I'm doing this healthy alternative. So that would be my second kind of hack. It's got the fats, proteins, and with dark chocolate, it's got a whole bunch of different nutrients, antioxidants, all the good stuff in there. So what's your number one, man? What's your go to?
My number one, without this number one food hack, in my opinion, I don't think, actually, I know these other ones do not happen. My number one food hack that has gotten me to where I am today and allowed me to have these conversations is by planning my meals.
Mm,
Planning my meals. I have a weekly meal planner. I forward think, backwards plan, just like I do. How you do one thing is how you do everything. What am I doing tomorrow? What do I have to get done? What are my responsibilities versus being reactive? Because when we're reactive and we don't plan our meals, then what happens when you have fatigue and you're tired, you're stressed, you're going to make bad choices. Your willpower will give in. You're going to stop at the fast food joints. And by meal prepping, that food hack has really changed the game for me,
mm,
allowed me to optimize my health, optimize my well-being, my sleep, everything. It's affected everything because I've planned it. And I plan my breakfast, I plan my lunch, I plan my dinner. And what I mean by planning is that I either cook. So if, for example, if when we cook dinner, we put it on repeat. It's either, chicken, it's beef. It's here recently we've been doing some really good organic chicken wings with
mm.
throwing a little spice on there. It's so
Where
delicious.
do you get those?
It's air chilled grilled organic chicken from HEB, and
Organic grilled
they're
chicken
chicken
HEB.
wings. I think they're called chicken wings. And dude, they're so delicious. You throw them in the air fryer for 21 minutes at 390 degrees. And I'm telling you, man, it's a little bit of dark meat. It's juicy. It's so delicious. But we already know what we're going to be eating in advance.
Yeah, yeah.
And by knowing this and by having it in the refrigerator, by seeing it and by knowing exactly how we're going to cook it and what we're going to put on it and what we're going to have as a vegetable, we always have a protein. We prioritize that protein, and we have a carb, like rice, sweet potato, and we'll change it up. Sometimes we'll put soy sauce, a little bit of not soy sauce, teriyaki sauce, primal kitchen teriyaki sauce on the rice, and just a little bit of tablespoon, just to
Mm.
give it a little extra kick. And so by having this planned in advance, it's made all the difference in the world, for how I train, for the
Yes,
food that I eat at nighttime. So
because
yeah,
it stops you making that hiccup, that sabotage of
100%.
yeah. Once you have that burger and fries or that little thing, it's extremely powerful. It's like a punch in the face. You're gonna want more
Yep.
very very soon. It's not like, oh, you've been
Every
clean for
time.
so long, then you eat something bad. You're like, oh, it's all good. I'll eat something. You'll immediately start thinking about eating something bad again because your body's processes so fast. Isn't it crazy?
100%, dude. And it's crazy the way that works. I'm like, you think you're alone when you hear that. You're like, but you're not. Like, it's so true. It's like,
Yeah.
I want another freaking burger. I just ate a burger. You know,
Mm.
it's like, what's the problem here?
Yeah, man. And to that point, this is my go-to defense ultimate hack number one. If I could, I need to figure out if I can buy stock in this company, but it's
I
protein,
love.
Aloha protein bars. I
Ah,
find them fascinatingly delicious. And protein bars are odd because oh, most of the ones out there are just glorified candy bars. So you have to be really
yeah.
careful with your protein bars. And I've gone through a lot of different ones to figure out what is the very best bang for your buck because a lot of them are loaded with sugar. Even some natural sugars, there's a lot of sugar in there, like a lot of dates, which I love. The RX bars are really good, but there's a lot of dates, a lot of it's kind of a high sugar deal. But you mentioned it earlier. So the Aloha bar has high fiber as well
Mm,
as a plant-based protein, which I'm all about animal protein. I love, like, I'm not against that at all. I love steak, chicken, fish, all the things. But this is it's good to mix it up because sometimes like whey protein can respond differently to a lot of people. So yeah,
yeah.
these Aloha bars, and it's a tapioca kind of base. So it's just good fiber, good protein, 14 grams of protein. And so anytime I'm feeling like I'm hungry or I'm going off track or I'm bored or distracted, instead of eating anything that would just be junk in the past, I just go have
Yep.
an Aloha bar. Even if it wasn't that good for me to have four in a row, which I don't, it would be better to have four Aloha bars in a row, protein,
Mm,
fiber,
yep.
healthy fats, than go and eat a pound of jelly beans.
Mm,
Right?
yeah. Yeah.
And if you can play that defense mode, if you just have that one bar, the protein satiates you,
Yeah.
and especially if it's nighttime and you're function at the bit just to because you're craving something, that has been something that's really helped steer me away from making any poor decisions.
Oh,
um, yeah.
I'm gonna have to make a note on that. Aloha
Yes.
bars. I don't think
Yeah,
I've
you can
heard
get
you
them
say that.
HEB. I think Kroger does them as well. So there's the peanut butter chocolate chip Aloha Bars dark chocolate. That's my favorite. But they have like a coconut one with dark chocolate in there. They have a straight chocolate. It's a strange texture. Now, some people will not like these. It's just one of those things. Some people
Yeah.
either love them or hate them. They're always sold out. Like when I go, they're always depleting. So I grab a bunch because they're always like half the HEBs I go to, the boxes are empty. So I actually
Really?
started ordering them from Thrive Market. They're actually a lot cheaper on Thrive Market, and you can buy the whole box. And my wife makes protein shakes for the kids with the Aloha protein shakes. It's good protein. I prefer Nick Bear's protein shake, but that alone has been a game changer for me. And even if it's not that, that's just a good rule in general. Find you a protein bar that you do like.
Yeah.
That's generally healthy. And anytime you want to go have those chips or you want to go have candy, which you really should remove all that from your pantry because it's a temptation. But at least you have a go-to. Go eat that thing that's still tasty and good for you. It's just
Yep.
a good backup plan. So
I'll give two little bonus to your Aloha. My I don't do the Aloha bars, but I do Alyssa bites. Alyssa,
Alyssa
they have
bites.
Alyssa
Oh
bites.
yeah, I've had those. Yeah, you said you've given to me.
There's a chocolate Alyssa bites, and these are apparently they're all like it's good, high fiber, good flax. There's flaxseed and there's all kind of healthy ingredients. But there's a chocolate one, there is a vegan one, and then there's a regular oatmeal one. I get all three of them, and it's my dessert. And my final dessert is the whey protein BPN, the Nick Bear.
Yeah,
Have you had the Nutter Butter Blast, bro?
the flavor. No,
Yes.
I've not. I'm doing the blueberry one. So the Nutter Butter's good.
Dude, it's Nutter Butter. Let me tell you something. If you're a cookie fanatic, like me and Kendra, that's our thing. Like that's our guilty pleasures, freaking cookies, right? So like we've literally been trying to find alternatives, and we have finally that I have influenced Kendra instead of getting a cookie. Hey babe, would you like a Nutter Butter smoothie? And she's
Nice,
like,
dude.
yes.
You
It's
know,
so good.
you can make a lot of like protein balls, or even you can make a lot of cookies with shake, like with protein powder. Which hearing
Yeah.
that, I'm like, that could be. I haven't done that, but my wife and Henley, just my daughter, made some power protein dark chocolate chip peanut butter balls this weekend, and that sounds like it would be amazing to add in there. The blueberry PS as well. If you want to put frozen bananas in with the blueberry shake, dude, it is a treat from heaven.
So
So
good.
good. Yeah, dude, we're just going off on the things we love to eat.
I've been making pancakes here recently, dude. Yeah,
Oh, send me a recipe for that. What's in them?
yeah. And I'm refining it. I've made 6 different. I've tweaked it, and kind of made them out, kind of like I did with the eggs. And I'm getting it down, bro. It's healthy
Nice, dude.
pancakes. It's
Yes, I
one
want.
scoop of his French toast, BPN whey protein, 1 scoop. It's a 1/3 cup of egg whites, and it's 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. It's 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/3 cup of unsweetened almond milk. Oh, and I throw some unsweet, like, little chocolate chips in it. Bro, so
Mm.
far, man, and then throw a little bit of zero sugar syrup on it. Man,
I'm gonna
it
make that for the family this weekend.
it makes
I'm
my
gonna make
heart
those.
sing, man.
Yes, dude. So man, that right there. There's so many things you can do. Alternatives that
Yeah,
will fuel your life and make you feel amazing versus the other that
exactly.
will wreck your bones, your body, your mind.
Yep,
There's just so many good things you can do, and give it a week or two to let your taste buds adjust. You might not
that's
like
right.
some of the things we're talking about, but after a week or two, you crave the things we're
Yes,
talking about, and then there's no going back. So
level up and live.
level up and live.